Welcome back to Mindful Notions, where we help young professionals do more with less. So today we are recording YOPRO Vitals episode 3. And for those who are uneducated, sorry, not sorry to use that term, YOPROs are young professionals. And this is a series I've been doing as just a check in. So earlier this summer, I was catching up with a friend and I just happened to say, how are the vitals? And what I meant by that were how were your important aspects of your life going? And as a young professional, most of my friends are ones as well. And now we're going to talk about what it's like to be a content creator as a young professional. This title is whimsically Life as a C-list content creator. And we mean that in the most positive way. I'm so excited to have Megan with us. Megan, can you give a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Megan. I am a content creator by the name of mangobun.art on
Woo!
primarily like Instagram and then also on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, the works. And I primarily make like fan art and original works and post like illustrations and reels. And I've been doing that full time for around 2 to 3 years now. So professional. But yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And on Instagram, you can be one of her 10.4K followers and
Yeah.
you can join the community. And I'm on similar platforms to Megan. We'll wrap that up at the end as well. But let's first talk about we're gonna go on a journey today, guys. We're gonna start from how me and Megan met, which has been over a decade now, which is kind of crazy. Again, I think as like a young professional, your sense of time still a little warped. Still,
We're-
still a little warped. Yeah, we're getting there. We're totally getting there. And then talking about how we got into content creation first as a hobby, and now we both make a non-zero amount of money from it. And
That's right.
then what we're working on now and what we are excited about next. So let's start. Megan, please let everybody know how we met. It's a pretty specific context, but just please enlighten the audience on it.
Yeah, so me and Sam, we've only been in one shared space, and that was at tennis camp, I guess, over
Yes.
10 years ago, and it was, like, a summer tennis camp, and I think we've max spent, like, 3 hours a day for, like, 5 weeks over the course of, like, 1 or 2 summers, and, like, that was it, like, we were just like, "Oh, I guess the vibes are good enough that we, like, occasionally text through, like, I guess, high school, college, and now we're here, and everyone from tennis camp is off doing cool things, and yeah, I guess I haven't kept up with tennis, but I'm glad to at least keep up the relationship, so that's good.
Yes, and it's not just any tennis place, it's the MVRC, also known as Mayfield Village
Mayfield Village.
Racket Club. So yeah, we were pretty legit, guys. We were pretty
Yeah.
legit. It's known to people in Mayfield, Ohio. So if you're from there and listening in, yeah, you could just
If you're
you could give a
specifically from the suburb in Northeast Ohio.
yeah, you could give a like an approved nod right now to the screen. And yeah, I remember that those summers being really fun. Megan was way better than me, so we weren't really sharing courts. But I remember one time like it was me, you, and somebody else. Like I think we like carpooled at times, and then you were
Eh,
breaking down the difference between like Marvel and DC. And
yes.
I remember you getting like really into it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this girl's like a big Marvel fan, right? Or
Yeah,
okay,
I
okay,
like,
okay.
that's one of my core memories is us 3, like, going to go see one of the Marvel movies, and I was like, "Yeah, that was a long time ago."
Yeah, what
Yeah.
was it like Ant-Man or what
It was
was it?
Ant-Man, I think, like,
Okay.
the first Ant-Man, and now there's, like, 4 of them, so
Yeah. So now we're here, and basically, I think after tennis, well, me and Megan, we went to different high schools. Megan went to all-girls school. I went to a separate co-ed private school. And then we didn't really talk that much in college, but why don't we start there in college and you can start talking about your your career winding experiences as you figure things out.
yeah, so I never had, like, the traditional 9 to 5 experience, frankly, like, in high school, it was, like, summer jobs, in college, it was just completely remote, and then out of college, I just didn't get into any jobs. So, uh, during college, I joined a club called Artist Alley, and essentially, it's a club for people who like want to make art and sell them very specifically in the context of like anime conventions. And I started that my junior year, and then it went all my senior year. And then once I was unemployed out of college, I was like, oh, I might as well keep this going. So
Yeah.
the summer out of college, I did my first like out of college artist alley, and it actually didn't go that well financially, but it like still was like a really positive experience overall, and I just kept doing it. And like as any content creator knows, like you have to have like multiple streams of income and multiple things you have to do all the time. So on top of that, I started content creation, and I was really lucky for that to take off at it after college. And I've just been grinding Artist Alley, social media, and I guess like freelancing since then.
Yeah, that's that I mean, I've heard all of that before, but still, it's
Yeah.
wonderful to hear.
I've complained
Y
plenty.
Yeah, basically, I'm just like, "Megan, like, I get it, like, you don't need to tell me," but for the audience, yes, that is great. For somebody who hasn't been to an anime convention before,
Mm.
maybe, like, a specifically art anime convention, because I haven't, can you just describe a bit about what the experience is like, what you think would be improved? Because that's just not my world right now, so I'd love to know a little more.
Yeah. So basically, overall, anime conventions are just like giant get-togethers of like studios that produce animes and like voice actors and panels about animes and fans come and gather. And then Artist Alley specifically is just like um artists such as myself can apply to get into them, and we set up like it's kind of looks like a farmer's market essentially, and you set up a table selling like fan art or original work. And it works primarily because the anime convention has already brought in all like the nerds and the weaves into one place, and those people want merchandise, and sometimes the higher ups or the companies and studios don't make everything that the fans want, so artists out
Mm.
fills in the gaps.
Cool. That kind of reminds me of like the art version of fan fiction. Like I feel like a big reason
Yeah.
why people write is
Mhm.
because they didn't get everything they wanted from the original story. So that is very cool. And just quickly, what type of anime do you like the most? Like what shows like you want to shout out anything? Again, I will just you could say anything right now and I have no idea, but any shout outs that you wanna make?
What shows have you heard of and, like, any anime?
Anime show like that's not like Pokemon, right? Like that
Pokemon
wouldn't
does fall under it. It's just like
okay,
it's
then Pokemon.
just
Yeah.
Pokemon. A lot that's still going really well these days, so good
Okay.
for that company. My favorite, funnily enough, are, like, sports animes. So, my favorites are called, like my number one's Haikyuu, which is a volleyball anime, which I watched, like, when I was doing, like, college athletics, tennis, and that really got me through it. And then there's a figure skating anime called Yuri on Ice, which I really love. And the most famous tennis anime is called Prince of Tennis,
Ends of
but
tennis, okay.
they kind of it's a little extreme. It starts off with, like, people who, like, can serve exactly in the same spot, like, 10 times in a row, but then, like, 7 seasons down the line, people are using, like, fire tornado serve and, like, tsunami, like, backhand, and it's a bit out there, but I would say that that's tennis's representation in anime.
Yeah, yeah, good. Well, I feel represented that I'm
Yeah.
gonna try a fire tornado serve next time and see see how that goes. So, what was the first reel or piece of social media where you felt like I don't wanna say like you felt like you made it because I feel like as a content creator, that's such a loaded idea and term, but maybe to like downplay the stakes a bit more, like what was the first piece where you're like, "Oh, like I'm getting noticed, like I'm getting
Mhm.
attention." Can you talk a bit about that?
I actually like, I do have a very specific turning point where, like, I made it, and,
Mm,
like, I've been making specifically, like, K-pop fan art right out of college because like, I was really in that phase, and I was, like, posting it regularly, and occasionally I would get, like the 100 like mark was, like, my mind blown moment. It's like, "Oh my god,
yeah.
this is so crazy." But then while I was just, like, posting reels for fun over the summer, One of them just like I posted it, then I woke up and it's like it was an overnight sensation where I was like, "Oh, there's just 10K likes randomly on my page," and
Yeah.
I was just like, "Yo, this is awesome." The I guess like what everyone knows about virality these days, especially the content creators, like one viral video obviously doesn't like make or break your career, but it's still like a very nice, like, okay, this is what works. And I was able to carry that momentum for like a solid year. And yeah, I was very, very thankful for the K pop community. But I have been stepping away from that specific style of posting just because I think posting for the sake of like someone else or K pop group specifically was getting a little restricting. So now I'm in a bit of a more like, when will I make it next? So,
Right, right. Well, one of the challenges you had noted to me as
mhm.
you were getting more popular was because you don't show your face in your
Mm,
content. You had an instance where somebody had like basically stolen your content, right? Can
mm.
you talk a bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So everything I do is faceless and it's just like all illustrations. And in I think any fandom for like a sports athlete or like anime K-pop, there's um it's very common to just like repost anything you see or just like take a video from a movie or take a video from like a song or things that are supposed to be copywritten and just like posting it on your own page.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, those rules also apply to like fan work. So stuff that I would make or I would spend like hours and hours and hours of time on, someone would just like download it from my page, remove the watermark, and like post it on their page as their own. And it would do really well there, which is really annoying because it would do better on their page than my page. But um, I think at some point you just have to get used to it. Like it's going to happen and there's nothing you can really do about it. Like you have very little legal grounds to like report it. It's just all right. I can like comment or DM them and just be like, "Hey, could you take this down? I don't really like I would appreciate it if you like redirected people to like my page, but it is one of the downsides of the job, I suppose."
yeah. So all of this, the good and bad, it's happening in the past decade. And January 2024 comes around and old Sam, so younger Sam, yeah, me younger, but the older version of Sam,
Hey.
that's a weird conundrum there. So young Sam, I don't know what provoked me to reach out to you. I think generally people who do know me know that I just reach out to people who I like want to talk to, and I just try to not think too much about the self
Hey.
consciousness and the awkwardness, which I know like can trip up a lot of young professionals. But I was just like, I think I noticed your content on Instagram
Mm,
most likely, and obviously like I had very fond memories of us when we were younger. So I reached out because at the beginning of 2024, I wanted to take my content more seriously.
mm.
And as content creators though, like you go through 50 iterations of you taking it more seriously. And then you're like, okay, guys, like now I'm going to do it. Like now it's going to happen. So this was probably like 20th time, 30th time of me saying that. But in that time, I wanted to talk to Megan because I really liked her content. I still really like her content. I wanted to talk to her. So I think I reached out and we called like maybe on New Year's, because I remember I was flying out to Ghana the next day and we flew out January
Oh
2nd.
yeah.
So it might have been the night of New Year's, like January 1st. I
We
was
had no
quick to
plans, I
like,
guess.
I guess, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's better if it's more understandable if you don't have plans like the night of the first
Yeah,
than
not
like the
usually.
night of the 31st, right? So we're in the clear. And I just remember learning like so much. I remember on that call, you were walking me through a lot of what you had just said. And while the content I wanted to do with productivity, tech, AI was of course different, like I just felt like there were a lot of just good learnings about the ups, the downs, and just the general sense of like pushing yourself to be creative is what really resonated with me. So I don't know if you remember much from that call because it was very impactful for me, but any recollections on your side?
I do remember, like, have you talked about, like, your old vlogging days on this channel yet? Like,
I
because
haven't, but we can, yeah, we can talk about that, I guess.
I just, like I remember like thinking like, yeah, like Sam can do it. Like I've seen like your I guess like work in the past like I really like there was no like yeah, I was just like this guy, this kid that posted vlogs and like enjoyed content creation in high school. Like if you want to
Yeah,
get into it, like you have the drive, you have the personality and like it was very easy to like just give you not resources on like how to create content, but rather like how does the algorithm work? Like what
right.
does social media specifically entail? And like I yeah, I think mostly it was just like, okay, Sam's getting back at it again. And it's cool to see, I guess, like it's been over a year from now, like you have established like an audience and like multiple podcasts. So it's on
Yeah,
the up. And also I've been intrigued specifically by the fact that, like, I'm really honed in on specifically, like, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like, it's all about, like, how do those numbers work, but it's been cool to see, like, you on your end do, like, in-person community events and, like, Notion Ambassador and Substack and, like,
yeah.
utilize those areas on the internet, and it's been fun to see, like, different types of content creation since 2024.
Yeah, which feels like way longer than the year and a half ago it is. On the topic of different channels, I remember I went to this creator conference back in May in Brooklyn. It was very well run.
Mhm.
And I remember this one LinkedIn influencer was like, well, I was like assessing my different content platform options, like what
Mm.
to kind of go all in on. And I paraphrase it here. I determined like I wasn't funny enough for Twitter. I wasn't pretty enough for Instagram. So I guess I was nerdy enough for LinkedIn. And I really enjoyed
Wait,
that
are you a LinkedIn
because
influencer too? Wait,
no, I
okay, okay.
tried.
Okay.
It's not I have not done well in terms of numbers. I mean, I enjoy it. I post when I
Okay,
think
okay.
they're like relevant updates. Like, for example, the free speech organization I work for, we were recently like a feature piece in the New York
Mm,
Times, and that's never happened for us before. And I posted that, I got like the 7 likes that I got, and I was like, great.
okay.
And
Viral. Let's go.
that's my community there. But I think I would say for LinkedIn, and maybe a lot of people relate to this, you're always like a little influencer adjacent. Like I'm connected and also like I
Mm,
have friendships with a lot of people who are quite big on it.
mm,
So I'm gonna just count there. I'm just gonna be like, well, I'm supporting their success and we help each other in that way.
that's fair.
But yeah, I think LinkedIn is I use LinkedIn mostly as a watcher. Like I think I
Yeah.
get a lot of my updates through that. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's great for what it is. But I think that made me think about I'd say for like the past 5 or so years, my main platform has been YouTube. And I
Mm,
wouldn't say it's my most successful one by a lot of metrics, but it's been my most consistent. It's where you could just see how much I've grown,
mm,
like not just as a human, but like editing wise, like quality wise, uh, just like thought wise, everything is a lot better these
mm,
days. And I'm actually like about to hit 50,000 total views on YouTube. And that feels like a good marker of, okay, like that is a period and phase and YouTube will forever, I think, be very important to me. But I think looking at the next 5 years or whatever
mm,
time frame is appropriate, I have been turning more and more to Substack because it allows me to, I think because Substack is a platform where it's pretty unique in a sense that not only is it itself a social media platform in a sense, but
mm.
it sends direct emails to your subscribers.
That's
Like the subscribers that got an email for this live video, like it makes me think more about what I'm putting out. Like
mm,
what is really worth people's times because nobody wants another email. Like nobody's at the end of the day being like, oh, if only I had like another email to answer and read. So I think I like that. I like the thoughtfulness because as you and I both know, there's plenty of content on all social media platforms where you're like, well, I
mhm,
mean, I know, I guess, of this random fact
mhm,
or this,
mhm.
random clickbaity
That's
content,
a lot.
but yeah, I don't know if I'm better off for it. So yeah, that's why you brought up my vlogs because I mean anyone can go see. I'm not ashamed or anything, but it's very representative of like a certain period of growing up, and I'm very
Mhm.
happy that I have those for
Yeah.
sure. And then I would fast forward to summer 2024. I moved back to DC, and I think that's when that's when I really get into a rhythm of just posting. And I that's what I want to ask you next. Like one word you use that I really agree and resonate with is like I have the discipline, or like that person has the
Mm,
discipline to do content, because I still think for people who don't know content that well, they might not fully understand like how much discipline it does take. I still regularly get asked the question why I'm like, oh, like I'm a podcast producer. Oh, so is that like your full time thing, or like what else do you have
mhm,
going on?
mhm.
And I don't fool anybody. Like there's no amount of intentions when people say it, but just to demystify a little bit, what what about content creation requires, in my opinion, like so much discipline?
I would to be very honest, like, it's just kind of sometimes, like, really embarrassing, like, to be a content creator, like, it's kind of like the biggest stage that like, the entire internet, and you have to go on there and be like, "Hey, guys, look at what I made. Please notice, please, like, comment, share, follow."
Yeah,
And it's kind of a cycle that continues with every single post because the especially Instagram's algorithm these days is it's really cutthroat, and it's not really forgiving for any, like, content that isn't, like, attention grabbing, and every time I post, and which is it's getting a lot slower because, I've been experiencing, like, a lot of, like, post paralysis and also, like, overuse injuries from, I guess, like, scrolling and drawing too much, but each time I post, it's like, "Oh god,
yeah,
what's gonna happen?" There's, like, no guarantees, there's no, for sures, it's always just a risk and a gamble and a hope that things go well, and this applies to everything with content creation, so, like, how many views you get, how much money you earn, how much, um if you can get into events, if you can, like, succeed in, like, XYZ, it's always a much bigger risk than, say, like, a 9 to 5 or, like, just anything else that ap applies to, like, I guess, like, a stereotypical job per se, and I mean that in a positive way, like, everything is just suddenly, like, um, a positive way towards, like, the 9 to 5, like, the 9 to 5 stability is, I think, extremely, it's great, but, like, every single aspect of a job suddenly becomes just, like, a gotcha game or, like, a slot machine. It's just like,
yeah.
"Alright, I did my best, let's pull the handle, and I will either get, like, 2 likes or I'll get, like, 100K, or I'll make, like, 2 bucks, or, like, I haven't earned 100K yet, but, like, one day I hope it just falls into my lap,
Right.
but, yeah, I would say I kinda lost track of the question, but,
Well,
um
that's actually where I wanted to go next. Like,
okay.
let's dive into the differences between
Mhm.
more of a content creation focused job and a conventional job. Can be 9 to 5, can be 7 to 11, 6 to
Yeah,
12,
yeah.
whatever the crazy hours some of our friends work. I went into college just pretty sure I was going to go to the consulting track. I went to a school that was quite friendly to that track, I would say. And one of my mentors from college still laughs and loves to remind me that she's like, "Yeah, you were like the most determined consulting freshman I met." Because she was 2 years older, but she was like, "Yeah, like as I was recruiting, you were like kind of like with me on that." And she's like, "Wow, I never met somebody who I'm so
You're
sure."
the most consultant y
Yeah, I was
freshman.
very because, like, you just don't know much else. You're like, "Okay, well, this is, like" but in my case, like, this is what my sister had done.
Mm,
I'm at the same school she is, like, at
mhm.
least as a start, that made the most sense with my skills and what I wanted. But I would say that well, first of all, like, I just didn't get a consulting offer that I wanted, so I think sometimes another myth or maybe, like, an implicit thing is like, "Oh, like, he just followed his passion, and now he's, like, in these
Like,
content
we both
creation roles."
tried to get jobs.
Right, guys, like, it's not something you just, like, choose one day to just stop, like, pursue. It's like you don't get what you want, so you have to pivot. But, like, on that note, I do think obviously like we wouldn't be doing this if we weren't incredibly passionate and somewhat good at what we do. So yeah, can you talk a bit about, especially since you're a bit farther out of school than me, like what you've noticed to be the trade-offs between you and some of your friends who are in the more conventional jobs? And again, like we're not shading those at all, but just they are very different. So
Mhm.
what are the differences you've noticed?
Yeah, so I think I'm only like I graduated a year ahead of Sam, and I would say I think, like I said before, the main thing is just having that financial stability. Because I think emotionally, the thing I experience, like, the most common thing from the starting point of content creation journey to now is just, like, constant financial anxiety. It's just "Is this week, I have to, like do I have to fight for, like, $5 or do I have to, like, put in, like, 80 hours to make, like, 100?" And it's just, like, a weird game of just trying to pull, especially, in the business model that I run. I have, like, low cost items with a high volume of customers, so it's a lot of work to just, like, grind in, like, 1K, 3K, whatever numbers you wanna put out there, and I think having, like, that legally obligated, um, like, payday, even though that, like, even nowadays, it's, like, kind of up in the air with, like, the whole layoff thing and, like, just, like, general economic stability specifically. We're both from the US, but, um, still having that, like, monthly, like, "This is when I'm gonna get paid. This is how much is gonna go into my healthcare. This is how much is going to go into my retirement." Like, just having that predetermined by someone who is burdened to you to fulfill those needs is, I think, just at its basis, like, n the pros of a job. Like, whoever invented the concept of, like, having a regularly paying job was really onto something like that. Um, I think that's definitely, like, a great system to have, and on top of that, like, you have things like HR and you have things like, um kind of like unspoken rules of the workplace where, like, everything has, like, a level of predictability. Like,
Yeah.
you go into the office and, like, you kind of know what's gonna happen, and that can be seen as, like, monotonous, but it can also just be seen as, like, just less stressful than having every single day be like, "Well, who am I gonna have to chase down today?" But I would say for me, it's unfortunately, like, capitalism and the financial side is definitely uh the best selling point of, I guess, a traditional job, but, um, yeah, I guess I'll turn it to you from what you've seen in the few years you've been running around.
Yeah, I would say that what I'm noticing is that there's a difference between my friends in conventional jobs who
Mm,
like to almost like play the game that you have to in a conventional job where you're entering at a position of like an analyst or an associate or the like, and the goal is to like advance either in that company or get the company to pay for your grad school or like get through this type of recruiting to go to a different type of recruiting. And it's the ones that, yes, I think enjoy it to an extent, but the ones that I think the game excites, those are
mhm,
the ones that I see, even though they're like a lot of times killing themselves over like the hours and like grinding so hard. Like I see, I see them enjoying it more versus the ones who I would probably count myself in this bucket, the ones who, like, are doing it because they are still figuring out what they truly want to
mhm,
do, whether that's through more school eventually or just through other jobs, and this conventional job was just the best opportunity at the time when they
mhm,
were exiting college, and that's why
mhm,
they're in it. And I wouldn't say those people are generally, like, unhappy, but it's a sense of, like, I'm just biding my time
mhm,
until I can leave. And I think that's pretty common from what I hear from my other friends who also have similar networks like that. And I think that contrasts with me, where I think right now I'm really fortunate where a lot of, especially like the work I do, of course, outside of normal working hours, that's all on me, and it's on me to be realistic with my time and understand that I won't be able to do every creative thing I want, but instead just to be picky and tasteful. And I think that's been the most learning I've done, I would say, in the past year or so of doing the content that I do, because I think something that a conventional job does give is, yes, security, but also the expectation that like you will work as long as you need to work on certain
Mhm.
things, like for the good of the organization or company. Versus, I would just say on the flip side for the content creation stuff, like yes, of course, there's the financial stress and everything you said, but you have so much autonomy over what you think is the best, and it's not like you're just guessing wrong each time. Like if you are a consistent content creator, I really enjoy how we develop taste. Like we
Mhm.
develop a sense of what's good and what's not. And especially in the age of something like AI, where like there's so many tasks that we do, our peers do, that probably should be automated, honestly. Like I don't think it's necessarily a sad thing if I never have to do like an admin task again. But what I think will always struggle to have is taste, because at the end of the day, like it's kind of reflecting back towards you, like
Mhm.
whatever you're putting in. And if you don't have taste, then you're gonna get poor taste back as well. Generally speaking, of
Yeah,
course.
I feel that.
Before we get into whatever exciting stuff we're working on now and in the near future, do you have any questions you want to ask me based on what we were talking about? I know you wanted it to be more of a conversational aspect, so here's your chance. Here's me acquiescing to your request.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I applaud because normally, like, I hate interviews because I guess I just feel like it's a job interview, so I was, like, really but I felt very comfortable throughout this entire experience,
Yay.
so I appreciate that.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
but yeah, I really resonated with what you said with, like, being picky, because 'cause I've noticed, like, when you're applying to jobs, like, you're kind of, like, trying to open every door and, like,
Yeah,
just kind of banging on seeing who opens up, but in a content creator space, I've had to, like, close so many doors and close off so many potential opportunities in order to, like,
yeah.
focus on one really specific thing, and, I guess the follow-up question to that is, like, what opportunities have you said no for in order to
Mhm.
further, I guess, the path that you are currently on?
Yeah, I would say for the AI podcast I hosted for the majority of this year, called DC
Mhm.
Decoded, there were, so at the beginning, like we were just starting from scratch,
Mm.
so there weren't like a lot of inbound guest requests. But eventually, once we got
Mm.
popular enough, we started getting more and more. And I think something that was like a basic but fundamental understanding of the podcast is like it's about AI in DC. Like that doesn't mean policy, but it just means it has to be related to DC. And I
Mm.
would get requests for people who are like great AI experts, but no connection to DC. And I would like
Mm.
ask what the connection was. Usually that was the edge of the conversation. But I would say it's a combination of people not understanding the podcast or like the content form. And then also I would say that I think another way that I've been picky, and maybe this is more this general relationship management, is that I I've had some people like schedule meetings either to be on the podcast or to talk about a potential like live podcast, for example. And for whatever reason, like we haven't been able to meet. And there's
Mhm.
been a mixed bag of people who I think are able to own up to that and reschedule. And I have had to do that as well. Like I'm not excluding myself from this, but I've noticed that a lot of collaboration, which happens more and more as you grow your content. It's about like understanding who you want to work with, because at the end of the day, like I do think somebody can be very talented, but it does matter to me that they also can stick to their word and that they can execute, which sometimes might mean picking somebody who maybe doesn't have as big of a following or isn't as like on the surface exactly what you want. But if I think I recognize that because it's something I value, like the commitment, the discipline, the execution, and it's made me seek it out of others. Like so many people have been like, "Let's do an episode," or like, I'm happy to help you in this way. I'm like, great, like set up a call. Like my socials are out there. Like I
Yeah,
am
do it.
open and I'm ready. If it's feasible, let's do it. And I've noticed that difference. Like there are some people who operate in just I think a way that I don't, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Any
No,
thoughts
I
there?
feel that so much, like, because 'cause we're all individuals and we're all freelancers and we're all, like there's no set, like, code or way to operate or rules of the job. It's just we all show up and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Let's talk about what we're currently working on and what's coming up. So I'll start this time because I'm very excited about what's
Yeah.
happening. So, Mindful Notions is producing our first show, and it's called Accessible Intelligence. It features me and my three friends, Hillary, Megan, and Austin. And
Not
for
me.
the next, not you, not Megan. But Megan is always welcome back, and I'm sure we'll be doing something in the future. But for the next 10 weeks, every other Wednesday, we'll be putting out an episode specifically about how we as young professionals are using AI. It will be very experienced focused and also charting the recent timelines of AI, such as the evolution from ChatGPT Model 3 to ChatGPT Model 5, and basically just picking up the places that people online or AI companies are just speeding past. Like so much has happened in just the past 3 years. And there's definitely room for a podcast to talk about important developments that people probably have forgotten about. I recently put out an episode about the Studio Ghibli art that ChatGPT was able to create back in April, but that already feels like a lifetime ago if you look at the updates. And I'm really excited because not only is this the first show that Mindful Notions is producing, but it's also I think a really logical next step. So for this podcast, I kind of just do whatever. And of course, it's productivity related and like focused on my Notion content. But I think we have this podcast and then I had been hosting DC Decoded and we're about to switch hosts for that. And that was more AI focused, but in a very professional sense. But I love that this show has co-hosts and that we're talking about like this niche in AI that I think people could resonate with. We're not experts, but we're probably a lot more relatable to the average young professional. And by average young professional, I mean like average, smart, driven, ambitious young professional who wants to make things happen. And and it's also a limited series, so nobody has to freak out about like when do we stop this? I'm burnt out, and everyone kind of knows like what's going to happen. So I'm so
Mhm.
excited for those discussions. And Megan is like a pretty big like influencer, so she's going to promote us. Hillary and Austin are like academic; they're going to do write ups, and it feels like just a really cool passion project. So the trailer went out today. I'm sure Megan has studiously watched those
I have
57
watched it. I
seconds.
watched it at 7 a.m. because I was just awake then.
Okay, amazing. You're probably like one of the first ones then, because that's when it dropped. And Megan, from your perspective, with like one day of prep that this was coming, like what are your initial thoughts? Any questions about it that you and the audience might have about it?
Yeah, I think, like, as a frequent viewer of Sam H. Lee's podcast, I think it is exciting that you're bringing in, like, an ensemble, like, that'll be a different dynamic, and from the way, like, the trailer was edited and, like, just a really, like, simple, clean, relatable, vibe, I think it'll definitely appeal to, like, your existing audience and, kinda, like, bring in, uh 'cause I'm guessing they've appeared before, but bringing in, like, people that viewers might be familiar with already and a topic that everyone's very familiar with already. And yeah, I guess one of my main questions is like, how will this content differ content wise? Like the specific topics differ from like your pre existing? Because I feel like you already give like a pretty relatable take on AI on all your different platforms. Like, what will bringing in three other people bring to the discussion that y'all are having?
Yeah, for sure. I would say we all come at it from a pretty different angle. Like Austin's
Um,
more foreign policy focused, Hillary's more education focused, and Megan is more startup focused. And I would say I'm general productivity.
mm,
And I think the choosing of like this four-person group was also quite intentional for that
mhm,
reason, and why we're doing 5 episodes. So the first one's going to be an intro, and we're going to talk about the recent timeline with chat. But the next four will each be the point person for each episode.
mhm,
So we'll each come up with our own topic that we want to talk about. I'll probably still moderate, but generally that's how the 4 episodes will break down. So I think by including their perspectives, it will be a way for people to, yes, like still get the young professional perspective, but just from very different industries. So that
mm.
was intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate, like, even though the general energy of, like, all your shows put together is, like, how do we implement AI into our lives? As someone who is pretty anti-AI, I do appreciate that you are very welcoming of, like, all perspectives, and you're like, "Yeah, let's just bring on people who primarily just know things, and then we'll continue from there." So, I'm
Yeah.
excited for this new venture for you.
Thank you. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. What are you up to these days for the audience?
Yeah, you caught me at a great time because I have nothing lined up for I'm very much at a very big question mark that I've been avoiding for around a year because I've feel like I've, like, run the gambit of I've done, like, Artist Alley pretty strongly for the past few years. I've done, like, K-pop fan art. I've done and all of those have, like, afforded me really, really cool opportunities and things, like traveling internationally for, like, art stuff and just traveling across the country and just I really, really loved every second of it, but I'm now at a point where it's like, "Okay, I've done all of that, but what do I do next?" Um, the biggest piece of this is unfortunately financial just because like, I the main update of my life is I need to start paying my own healthcare soon. But, it's just, I've tried XYZ and, um what comes next is I don't know because I have an audience very specifically targeted to, like, a K-pop audience, and I there's just a very big wide door open, and there's, some things I'm considering are, like, I wanna do, like, a really big, like, art collaboration with a bunch of other fan artists and creating, like, a giant art book, but, um, the logistics are rough with that, and then maybe delving even harder into content creation, who knows? Um, but yeah, I feel like this is one of those moments where it'll harken back to the "be picky" statement that was brought up in the middle, where it's like, there are a dozen options I can take, and all I can really do as a solo creator is pick one, invest in myself, and hope in the best. Hope for the
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can always make a Notion page to help you
I
decide.
your templates, are they still free? For the
Yes. Yeah.
500, downloads thing?
Yeah, so as a gift to my audience, I mean, already most of my free templates were like the best selling or downloaded ones. Anyways, yeah, after I hit 500 template downloads, I'm like, why not just make all of my templates, including the paid ones, free for the rest of the year? So
Uh,
yes, you can do
Time to
that. But
download it. Sounds
but you can also always reach out to me and like we can figure out
sounds
something
good.
in Notion that would work for what you need because it's so personal. That's a great thing about Notion.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, like keep me updated. I mean, I
Yeah.
know you will offline, but maybe we'll do something once you've decided and once you've figured out what you want to do next. But I think that so far, I think you've done great.
Thank you.
And the fact that I think the coolest part about what you're doing to me is like the travel and you're able to I
Mm,
mean, you talk to me about the IRL stuff, but I feel like you've gone to Korea and you've met people there and I really enjoyed watching like your Instagram stories and all the content that was coming out while you were there. And I think that I hope you can do more of that with whatever you do next
mhm.
because like traveling, doing those conventions, I'm sure. that seems to be like the most organic way to like keep building the
Mhm.
audience
Mhm.
offline. And I think again in the age of tech, AI, attention economy, doom scrolling, like I do think there is a craving more and more for
Mhm.
in-person events.
Mhm.
And yeah, I hope many more of those are in your future.
Thank you.
So this is Megan. She is known as mangobun.art on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well.
YouTube, someone took that already, so it's mangobun.art_official, but
Okay, great. Yes,
yeah.
mangobun.art_official. This has been Mindful Notions. You can find us on any major podcast platforms. We're hosted on Substack, but we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I'm sure a bunch of other smaller podcast platforms. If you liked or if you liked what you heard or watched, please make sure to like, comment, leave us a rating. If you're on Substack, consider recommending Mindful Notions. It really helps us attract new people. And Megan, thank you so much for coming on Mindful Notions. Let's keep living our best lives as C-list content creators. And yeah, I'm sure we'll do another episode at some point. But until then, hope everyone takes care and has a good night. Bye, guys.
Yeah, bye.